Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Midnight Strike 3625 and I am going to be beginning my series review of one of my favorite video game franchises of all time, Assassin's Creed. And what better place to start than the one that started it all, 2007's Assassin's Creed. And I have my Xbox 360 copy right here, and ironically it was supposed to be a PlayStation 3 exclusive, but I do prefer the control design to the controller of the 360, as well as the more vibrant graphics that the 360 produces over the PS3, at least for this game. So when it comes down to it, this game was supposed to be Ubisoft's AAA title. It was supposed to propel them to the next level, the next generation of gaming. It was their next big project that started out under the title Project Assassin, and everyone was hyped to this game. Everyone had to have this game. But once it came out, there were complaints across the board about how repetitive it was, about the character design, about the clunky controls, the climbing was too slow and annoying. And for the most part, I do agree with some of these complaints. I am seeing a lot of the clunky control design, but I gotta say, the environments are beautiful. The dialogue is very well written, especially with the voice acting. The voice acting is of quality, of significant quality, and I do like the accents of all the supporting characters. The only thing is, I don't know why they chose to make Altair have a more Midwestern accent, or at least an American accent, as opposed to everyone else having a Middle Eastern accent. They did fix this, of course, in Assassin's Creed Revelations, but I haven't beaten that game yet, so I can't really say about the quality of the mission structure and everything else. So, endorsing Mountain Dew in this review because it's awesome. Anyways, Assassin's Creed puts you in the mind of Altair. Like I said, you are in this cave trying to hunt down this treasure in the beginning mission, but you go ahead and disobey what is known as the tenets of the Assassin's Creed. Nothing is true, everything is permitted. Pretty much everything in this game amounts to all these broken down riddles that you have to uncover and discover for yourself as Altair, but in breaking the Assassin's Creed, you actually lose all of your rank, all of your credibility, and pretty much all of your skill for some reason. It's like, I'll make the comparison to Alucard from Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I know I've drawn this comparison before in regards to Assassin's Creed, but it's true. You have all this badass moves, all these badass equipment and capabilities, but then all of a sudden, bam, you're stripped down. So that's kind of what happens, and the person who is responsible for taking your rank is the Assassin Master, or your instructor, your master, is Al-Mualim of Masyaf, which is where the Assassination Bureau is located, or at least the main one, the one you're from. The biggest one. It's like a giant castle, so you can't miss it. It's a giant fortress that the Templars actually do try to invade because they follow Altair home. So not only is Altair responsible for breaking the Assassin's Creed, he's also responsible for leading the main nemesis of the Assassination Order to the Assassination Order. So that's a lot to kind of take under your breath a little bit. I mean, like, he almost dies. Like, Altair almost dies from the blade of Al-Mualim, but Al-Mualim decides to give him another chance to redeem himself by killing these 9 different Templars. And in doing so, you have to go out to different various cities, and before you assassinate someone, just like in real life, you don't know who these people are, you don't know what they look like, you don't even know where they're going to be at the time where you want to assassinate them, so obviously you're going to have to do a little research. And in doing research, this is where kind of the repetitiveness comes in, and you have to go out and climb these really tall buildings, and like I said, the environments are fantastic, so it is very rewarding to climb these tall buildings and find these, what is known as viewpoints, to unlock these various objectives. So you climb these viewpoints, and then you can jump off this little ledge thing into a bale of hay, and that's called a leap of faith. And you're jumping from like at least 50, 60, 70, 80 feet up in the air, and you're just like, walk it off. So that was kind of funny, because in the beginning, someone actually broke their leg by jumping into the hay bale. I guess he's a novice, who knows. But it's just kind of a really unique mechanic. I've never really seen that before. The concept of this is very original, but at least in this game, it's not very well done. Especially when you get on into the stealth and the low-profile, high-profile actions. You hold down, I believe it's RT, in order to get into the high-profile actions, and that's going to draw a lot of attention to you, especially from the guards. And the guards are kind of ruthless in this one. I mean, like, you'll go through, you can press A or X if you have a PlayStation to blend, and that'll kind of get you in between from point A to point B, but the problem with this is you go at an unbearably slow rate when you're blending. And whenever there's a guard in the premises, it'll just start flashing, like your little icon will start flashing and making this really weird, like, beeping kind of noise, like you're suspicious, you're gonna get caught. But the thing is, the problem that I have with this is the guard doesn't even have to be looking at you, and he doesn't even have to see you, and the icon will still flash, it will still beep, it will still say you're suspicious. So it wasn't really as fleshed out as I would like it for it to have been, especially after playing the later games in the series and then coming back to beat this one. It really was kind of a chore. So I just beat it for the first time about 2 nights ago, and I do like the plot revelations taking place, albeit they were a little bit predictable and cliche, but I did like where they were going with it. I did like how they pulled it off, and especially with one of the Assassination Bureau leaders, I believe his name was Malik. He ends up being, like, he starts off treating you like complete and utter shit. He just badmouths you and insults you pretty much any time he gets. But he ends up being your greatest ally in the end, and it's really awesome to see this character develop and grow to like you. So it's really cool, especially with Altair as well. So this is Altair's journey pretty much as much, if not more, as it is Desmond's, because Desmond's just kind of how you're relaying this information to your system. So when you get into it, it's really cool, it's really interesting, but very repetitive. That's the only thing. And another thing, you know, like I said, I have a few nitpicks with this game. Actually, a lot of nitpicks. They're not really going to affect my score, my final verdict, as much as all the other stuff will, but when it comes down to it, the nitpicks really do add up, especially if there are a lot of them. Nitpick number 1, the voices of the characters, the character models. In the investigations and pickpockets missions, especially when you're going after someone, they're talking to someone else at first, and then when they're done talking, you can bump into them, and in a completely different voice, they will say something like, "Oh, do you have a death wish, or do you get out of here?" But, like, they'll say something to you, but it's not even in the voice that they were originally depicted as having. So it's very kind of immersion breaking to hear that. It just makes you go, why would they do that? So a lot of other things that are kind of nitpicking for me are the character models. They seem a little bit bland. The only one I really remember, other than Al-Mualim, of course, in the Crusade era, is probably Malik, and he's one of the main characters. I mean, other than that, the character models are just kind of bland and uninspiring, in my opinion, but that makes them all the more fun to assassinate. So, that being said, going through these missions, you have to do at least 3 of the 6 investigations. I usually avoid the flag missions like the plague. I mean, you have to go and basically run in a straight line, get the flags for the informer, come back, and then he'll give you, like, mission goals and mission information. So, it's like, whatever. You don't have to get 100% in order to pass, so why do it? Why bother? It's pointless. So when it comes down to it, I do 3, I move on. I don't care about 100% completion, and that's kind of detrimental to this game because it's discouraging you to complete it. So that's one of the other things. When it comes down to completion, all you have to do is like half. And when it comes down to it, after you get the objectives, after you get these 3 investigations, moreover, you go back to the Assassination Bureau. He gives you an assassination target, and these assassination missions are probably the cream of the crop. The assassination missions are my favorite part, and they're really descriptive and informative and pretty much awesome in every single way, shape, or form. I mean, especially, they're all different, they're all varied, which is really interesting compared to the repetitive nature of the rest of the game, and they all have really interesting and unique places that they all take place in, especially with the environment surrounding them and what's happening, and how basically every single NPC reacts to the environment. So it's really interesting, especially when you go after these people and they all react accordingly. So that's probably the best part of the entire game. The assassination missions. But other than that, I mean, it's just kind of repetitive hit and miss. When it comes down to like the guards as they chase you, you have to hide. You can't outrun them, even if you're on a horse. You can, but it takes you for miles and miles and miles to outrun them on a horse. But when you're scaling the rooftops, you can't outrun these guards. It forces you to hide in something. And being boxed in like that just takes away from what should have been an amazing experience. So, my final verdict for this game would probably have to be 7.5, 8 out of 10. I'm probably going to go 7.5 because it's kind of an immersion breaking, original yet executed in the wrong way experience with amazing graphics, especially for an early PS3 360 game, and a pretty awesome direction. So, next we're going to talk about Assassin's Creed 2, which took this single game and single-handedly turned it into an amazing franchise that will be releasing games every single year. It was that popular. It still is very popular. So, until next time, I am Midnight Strike 3625. Keep calm and rock on.